Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. I'm your host, Haley Rowe, marketing and sales strategist and coach. And on this show, we talk about marketing, sales, time management, client attraction, and mindset. And today we're digging into something that will help you build desire among your audience and attract more clients. And that is your brand and your aesthetic and your design. So I have a very special guest today, Jackie Naunton. And she is a brand strategist, a graphic designer, the founder of White Deer, with over a decade of experience working with hundreds of women-led businesses. She helps coaches and online service providers create clear, confident brands that actually convert without the overwhelm. And she's the creator of DIY Design My Biz, which is a successful YouTube Canva channel. Oh my gosh, my clients need that. They love Canva. And she's also the host of the Seriously in Business podcast, which I was just on talking about LinkedIn. So you'll definitely want to check out her show. And she blends design strategy with honest conversations about growth, mindset, and sustainability in business. And she makes branding feel practical, empowering, achievable, especially for those business owners who've been DIYing their graphics and their design and are ready to level up. Okay, so we just had such a fun talk, and I'm excited to talk with you about this topic because so many of my clients want to post on Instagram or have a website or, have a flyer. But what holds them back is they're like, I don't know how to make it look good. I don't know how to make it look pretty. They don't know what they're doing. So Tell me first, how did you even get into caring about design?
I think it was built into me. I think it was always something that I loved and cared about. I started off taking photos with my parents' film camera as a kid, just loved making beautiful things, and then dived into like MS Paint. Do you remember MS Paint? I was always designing things there, and then I found online forums people needed random graphics for their games, and I was like, I can do that. And then they were horrible designs, and then I ended up studying graphic design at university, and just to love this idea that I could make the world a more beautiful place. And I learned how strategic design, it wasn't just about prettiness as well. It was about, like, if someone sees a graphic that doesn't communicate to them or doesn't connect with them, they're not going to look at it, they're not going to read it, they're not going to interact with it, and then they don't get to interact with your business. And so I was like, okay, design isn't just this pretty idea for businesses. It's one of the most important first things that we have to connect with our ideal audience, and how can I help people to utilize that well? And so kind of all snowballed from there.
Totally. And the kind of analogy that you're making me think of when you say like design is kind of that first step is two things. One, when you're window shopping on like a sidewalk of shops, you go in the store where you're like, oh, the window's set up so cute. It looks so fun in there. And the other thing I think about, somebody put it this way to me, and this is really what was like, oh, design is important. They were like, you can have a painting on a wall, but if it's like, crooked and it's unframed and there's no light shining on it and you can't see it because it's dark, you're not going to appreciate or look at the painting. Versus if you frame it and you put a light over it and you center it, you're going to be like, oh, you're going to notice it, right? So for those of us who are maybe newer and maybe we want to start to, use design in our business to grow, how does design influence trust and our buying decisions? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so it's exactly as you've said. You can imagine, it's just so true for new businesses. It's like the passion of my heart is that new businesses will look as professional as a business that's been in business for 10 years, because that's how we can build trust quicker. If I come to your Instagram page and maybe you're just getting started, you've only got a few hundred followers, but if your brand looks like you actually care, if your brand looks like a professional brand, my brain is going to think, maybe they are newer in business, but they seem to actually know what they're talking about. They seem to actually care. They seem to look professional. And so there's this huge tool that we can use to help people overcome and to give the best first impression possible. Because you can imagine if I was to go to a page and someone's Instagram or their website or their flyer or anything visual that I see of someone, and what I see of them looks sloppy, it looks like things don't make sense, things aren't easily readable, things like there's not professional photography, or there's not at least an attempt at professional photography. All of these things will make my mind as a consumer think, they might just be starting out, or they might not be very good at what they do yet. I don't like, and if I think those things, unless I've gotten a really great referral about you, I'm not going to trust you. And so when we are starting out, we might not have 1,000 really great testimonials. We might not have 20 people referring to us. But what we do have is the power to create a really professional looking brand to help people trust us so much faster. And so I think it's a really important tool for businesses to take. And it has so many like side effects as well that people forget about. Firstly, it's that confidence piece. Like when I first had my brand, my first initial brand was gray and white. And if you're watching now, you'll see that I'm actually really purple and bright and bubbly. My gray and white brand was because I was terrified of deterring anyone. And it meant that I was like, I'm just going to be gray and boring so that everyone will work with me because I'm terrified of not having a client. And then I realized I loved working with women in business. And so I changed my brand to being pink and white. And it was like hot pink. Now, the problem with that is that I hate hot pink. And so whenever someone was like, Jackie, what's your Instagram? I would literally cower and think, I don't want to share it with you because I'm not confident. And so there's this piece where design impacts the way that we show up as a business. And we need to be our business's biggest advocate. And if we're not feeling proud of our website or our flyer or Instagram or anything visual that we're sharing with a potential client, we are so much less likely to want to purchase from them, or want to actually, so we're so much less likely to want to show up because we're like, I'm not good enough. I don't want to do this. I can't, I'm too scared. Whereas when we have a brand that we love and we can shop, it's like when you put on a really beautiful outfit, you just want to like, yeah, I'm amazing. I look great today. Whereas if you wear something you feel unconfident in, you don't feel that. And so there's this piece of confidence that it gives us as a boost as people that are newer in business, even those of us that have been in business for years, we still need that confidence. And then there's this piece of, if I'm able to actually create the things I need to create, I'm able to show up more. So if you don't post to Instagram because you don't know how to create a graphic, you're not going to post to Instagram. You're not going to get that potential benefit of posting to Instagram or creating a flyer or doing these things. And so having that skill to actually create what you want to put out into the world to get those clients is such a game changer too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Such great points. And what about coming up with your design? Like, some people I think struggle to decide, just like you were saying, they don't want to deter people, but they also, don't want to pick the wrong thing. So how do you lead someone through deciding like, what's their design style and where do they even start with that?
Yeah, this is, it's so important to get this right, because when and people want to go fast here. They're like, I just want to jump into Canva. I just want to quickly create this. And I might just grab a cute logo that I find or a cute color that I see. But if we don't kind of go slow at the start to then go fast, what happens is we end up either creating a brand that doesn't resonate with us, doesn't resonate with our clients, or doesn't look professional, or is something that we have to change in a year's time. And we keep on changing our brand. We don't get to build brand credibility and recognition. And so it's really nice at the start to kind of just go slow and think, all right, how can I build the best possible foundation with what I have? Now, one of the things I love about business owners creating their own graphics is that there is this ability to evolve, because I can guarantee that the video and like the people and the ideas that you have at the start of your business aren't probably going to be the same people that you're targeting or this kind of way that you're doing business later on. And so if you sit down and get as much clarity as you can at the start and then build a brand from that, but then have that ability to then evolve it as you maybe get clearer on your target audience, as you get clearer on your niche or who you're serving or what you're doing, then that's really beautiful. And so some questions you want to ask yourself at the start is threefold. I like to think of it as a Venn diagram. I call it the WOW model. And it's this idea where there's 3 circles and they're overlapping in the middle. The first circle stands for your who. It's your target audience. It's who do I want to attract in my business? Who do I want to work with? So for me at the start, because I was terrified of deterring anyone, I just chose gray. What that meant was that I wasn't attracting anyone as like, yes, I need to work with you. The amount of clients I get just because they also are obsessed with purple is wild. You don't have to be obsessed with purple to work with me, but I do call to a certain type of person a lot faster than if I just had a boring gray brand. And so there's this boldness and this clarity we need to sit down and think through. And that's really great to think through this in general. Like as a business, these are good questions to ask yourself whether you're creating a brand or not, which you'll need to, even if you're outsourcing it, you still need to ask yourself these questions. So you'd sit down and you'd think, all right, who is my target audience? How can I attract them? Like what colors are they loving? And you're going to be making generalizations at this point, but there are beautiful generalizations you can then use to form the other parts. So this isn't the only thing we're basing our brand on. The second thing we're basing our brand on is our originality. A lot of us small businesses we're basing our brand on, like, it shouldn't only be on this, but a big part of it is, who am I? What do I love? Because businesses, when we're personal brands, we need to feel like, oh, this brand is me. For example, when I did that hot pink brand, I hated it and I had trouble showing up because of it. And so people either go too far in this direction, they either go too far into what they're loving and they just create a brand that's them, but not their target audience, or they say, I don't matter at all, I need to pick anything I love, and they have trouble showing up because they hate their own brand. And so it's about thinking about, what do I love as a person and how can I embed that into the brand? And then the third circle, the W, the last W in WOW, is your why. And that kind of gets us to think through, what do I want someone to feel when they work with me? If I am a nutritionist, I want someone to feel empowered and excited and healthy and equipped. And so those words all have visual connotations to them that we can bring into our branding. Whereas if you had a brand that was like a day spa, for example, you'd probably have calming and nurturing and grounding as your words. And that's going to have a different vibe to maybe a gym, which would have like energetic and bold and punchy. And so when we think through, what do I want people to feel when they work with me, I can then create graphics and text and choose designs that are going to convey those feelings at a glance. And so what we want to do is have these three circles where we've got our who, our originality, and our why. And where is the overlap? Where's the overlap between what's my target audience like? What do I like as a human? And what do I want my business to feel like? And then we can choose brand colors, brand fonts, brand style, and graphics that are going to attract our audience in before they even read a word that we have to say. And that is really intentional marketing, where we can not have to worry about, like, if someone's not going to read what you have to say if it doesn't visually appeal to them. If I see like a really like dark, dingy kind of army style vibe graphic, I don't connect with it, so I probably won't even read it. Whereas when we have graphics that appeal to our audience, they're much more likely to read it and connect with us and think, this person is for me.
Yeah, definitely. What about so when it comes to graphics specifically, and let's talk about Instagram because that's what a lot of people use. What are some graphic do's and don'ts, or reels do's and don'ts when you're designing those kinds of things?
So firstly, it's user branding. So a really great thing is, like, every time you design a graphic, you no longer have to consider, what colors am I using? What random font am I using? You're always going back to those same colors and fonts that you first decided when you built your brand to use that WOW model. And then after that, it actually becomes a lot easier. Once you know your content, you maybe find a cute Canva template and you apply that branding to it. There's not many decisions left. Some of the biggest things I see people doing, a concept that I really love, is a design concept. It's called hierarchy. And it's this idea that we can visually take our audience on a journey through a graphic. And we can do that through having really, really large text versus really, really small text. And so say, for example, I was running a masterclass on learn how to jump. I wouldn't say my biggest text wouldn't be masterclass this Friday, because unless you really care about me and what I have to say, that's not going to capture your attention. What might capture your attention is either learn how to jump or jumping will change your life because of X. And so having that text as your really, really large text, and then having really small text in contrast to that, not only helps your audience to see what's relevant to them and capture their attention, and then go down and see the next relevant piece of information, like book now, or this is the date, or join me for this masterclass, then having that text smaller also helps the design to actually look really interesting. A big mistake DIYers make is they have lots of their text the same similar size. They might have size 20 for a heading and then size 15 for their next piece of text. What I want to suggest to you to try is to try even like size 50 or 100 for a piece of text, and then contrast that with size 30 underneath that for a social media post, for example. And that will create really great dynamic design that people are attracted to, and makes the design look interesting without overcluttering it.
I love that. Okay. And what about, do you think that people need to do, like, have you noticed anything work really well for certain clients, like carousels or flashing thing, like anything with the details that we should know?
Yeah. So the biggest, like, we can do fancy things, but as long as if we need to make sure our content is there and our branding is quality and our actual designs look good. And once we have those, we can then play with some other things. And what you'll find is that what will work one week may not work a few weeks later. What might work for someone else's niche may or may not work for someone else's, for your niche. But some fun things you could try are things like animations. Canva makes that really easy. For example, sometimes I use little cute elements on my designs, and sometimes I select that element in Canva. I clicked on the animate button and I scroll down to the bottom and there's a little wiggle option. And if you just lower that wiggle down to the lowest wiggliness and you select that, then what happens is that creates a really light, like just a slight moving element to the design, because we don't want to overcomplicate the design and make it busy and weird to look at. But if we just add a little bit of a moving element and then save that design as a MP4. And then I love using this concept in a carousel. So having 5 slides, have a carousel and have a little bit of a wiggle element on each kind of slide. You can animate the text as well, but you need to be really sure you don't overcomplicate that and make it too busy. It's kind of like, back in the day when you'd have PowerPoint, you had all these cool transitions and slides and people would overdo the transitions and it'll become tacky. We kind of want to toe the line between tacky and professional. And then what we can do is, export those. And so having that animation is nice. Carousels in general usually perform well, especially if you have a really great hook that is really large on that first slide and you're using your branding. I always recommend, if you're a personal brand, to use pictures of yourself if you have them. That creates a lot of personal recognition and builds that trust in you and your business a lot faster. And when you use those pictures consistently, people begin to recognize you, and that helps them to stop as well, which a big part of Instagram is to stop the scroll. So large text, animations, using photos of yourself can be helpful. Using your brand consistently, like if you have a bright yellow brand, obviously people are going to probably notice it, but you can also have a brown brand and get people to notice it if you're using it consistently. And so don't let someone tell you, I need to have this really bright brand because I need to stand out. It's really about being consistent and using professional design techniques to then stand out professionally.
Okay. So if someone listening to this is like, all right, well, so I know, I'm going to use certain brand colors, I'm going to use certain fonts. I want to start digging into Canva. I want to start doing my graphics, DIYing my graphics. Where should they start? What do you recommend for a beginner?
I'm actually about to start a whole YouTube series on beginning in Canva. So feel free to, if you're watching this, to have a look if I've posted that yet. But in essence, make a free account. You don't need Canva Pro to start with. You can if you'd like to. I think it's a really great business investment, but it's not like a necessity to start out with. You can do so much with Canva free. And then allow yourself time. It is a new platform to you if it's brand new, and that it's allowed to confuse you a little bit. But I can tell you it's one of the most beginner-friendly design programs out there. From someone who's had to learn Adobe Photoshop, Canva is wonderful. It's harder to stuff things up there. It's that they try to make it nice and easy for you. So open up Canva, make a new account there, and create a design. You can just press create design, select, and it's got all these pre-made sizes. So you can just search, like if you're doing an Instagram post, just search Instagram. It will come up with some classic post sizes. Choose the 4x5 option. And then when you open up the design, it's going to be a big blank design, white square staring at you. Don't feel overwhelmed. You're going to do 2 things. You're going to think about the content you're going to share. I personally love, as my first step, usually just to add in some text of just to get a bit of an idea of okay, what am I sharing? What's my hook? What's my body text going to be in this carousel or in this Instagram post? And so you can either start with a text or you can start with a template. Canva has a ton of templates. You don't have to go to Etsy and purchase them. You don't need to go anywhere else and purchase them if you don't want to. You can just go straight into Canva's template library that pops up when you open up a new design and search what you're looking for. If you're making a tip carousel, you can literally search tip carousel. If you know your branding is feminine, you could search feminine tip carousel or healthy tip carousel, and you can write those keywords in. Sometimes you'll get nothing, so you might have to make your search less specific, but add that in, scroll through the templates that are there, add them to your design, apply your branding to it. So if you've chosen your branding fonts, you've chosen your branding colors, it's so much easier to just be like click, click. And there's a few buttons in Canva where you can, if you change a font or you change a color, you can just wait. And down the bottom, it says change all. And you can change all of the colors in that template to your brand colors or to your brand fonts. Then you just go through and update the text. add in a couple of brand elements, maybe add in a couple of wiggly bits, export that, and you're done. You're good to go. And during that process, you're just allowing yourself to learn. You're going to think, all right, it took me ages to find the text box. It's not going to take me that long to find the text box next time because I now know where it is. And so just allowing yourself that grace of, this is a new program. It's going to take me a minute, but I will get to learn it quite quickly. And I can make a whole carousel in 10 minutes now because I know exactly how everything works.
That's such a good point. I think really the best way to learn it is letting yourself go in there and just play, like drag things around, make things, drag your fingers and make it bigger, make it smaller, put text, learn how to put a first text box in your Canva design. So great idea. One other thing for anybody listening, something that I've been really liking, and I'm curious if you have any other tools you want to share with us, is I like Gamma for making slides. It's a newer thing I just learned about. And it makes it really easy to make them look nice, and you can make them your brand colors and all that. Do you have any other tools that you like as a graphic designer that you think our listeners should know about?
Not a huge amount, because I try not to overcomplicate things for people. I'm like, oh, I need to get this and this and this. And so what I find, and for my own business even, I pretty much can do everything inside Canva, other than like if I want to, like even captioning reels, I can now do right inside Canva, making slides or making a whiteboard, or even like, for example, I have a podcast. And so I post my podcast to podcasts, I post it to YouTube, I post like 2 carousels and a static post and Pinterest pins and LinkedIn posts, all of this from one design, one podcast. But what I do is I actually have all of that in one Canva design. I have a spreadsheet, because Canva now does spreadsheets, inside the first page of my design that outlays every single content piece and all of its captions and when we're posting and if it's approved and if it's done. Then I have like the thumbnail and the podcast cover and then all the different posts. At the end, I have like a whiteboard, which is like a design that's endless in size. You can just pop anything in for random bits and pieces. I have docs inside there as well that outline like my show notes and my descriptions of everything. So all of that is just in this one long Canva design. So I actually find it easy to just explore the potential inside Canva, and I find that there's so much in there that just makes it like my team, we all just talk in this one little design and everything is there that we possibly need. Yeah,
that's great. I'm always a fan of simplify if you can and go deep on one thing rather than a million things. So that's great. Okay. So one more question, actually. I thought this was a really good question you asked me on your podcast, and I was like, I want to know your day. So you asked, what's a typical day for you? So tell us, because I know you got little kids. So tell us more about what's a typical day look like for you as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So my days are very, very different. Say, for example, today is a Tuesday. It's my only day with babysitting. So my son is with my parents and my daughter has just started school. I'm currently pregnant with my third. And so I've got very low energy. Thank you. And so my day on a Tuesday will look like drop-offs everywhere and then come home. And because it's my only work day, I just book it to the brim with calls. I'll have calls like this. I've got a masterclass I'm about to run. Then I'll record all my YouTube videos and my podcasts, and usually run some support calls with my coaching clients. So it's just a call day. And so usually I'll get up, drop the kids off at those places, work really hard all day, then do all the after school activities, cook dinner, put them to bed, and then keep working again in the evening. And so that's my Tuesdays. But then other days, usually it just looks like kid stuff life, work during my kids' nap time for 2 hours, and then work again in the evening for another couple of hours. And other than that, I'm just mumming the rest of the time.
Love it. Love it. You're an example of what is possible. You work it in when you can, you work smart, you batch it. And that is what we want to show other entrepreneurs who are also moms, that it is possible. It's not easy. You have those tired days, it sounds like, but you're doing it. So any advice you'd give to somebody who is in the same boat, like, yes, I have kids, I am distracted all the time, I got a lot going on, what would you tell them?
Lists are fabulous, because it means that when I have a pocket, like sometimes I just have 20 minutes to get something done, or I notice the kids are playing, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to duck to my computer for a minute. I can just go to my list and think, all right, this is the next thing I'm going to work on. This is my next top priority. Getting support is big. Like over the years I've built up, I've got someone that helps with my social media, or helps with my editing, or helps manage my clients. And so doing that as well has been helpful, but wasn't a possibility at the start. So I built up to that, but I was delegating when I could was really important. And then just giving yourself grace that things change really quickly. Like seasons move really quickly. And so some weeks I'm like, yeah, I'm getting a ton of work done. And then the next week my kid will be teething and another kid will be sick and another kid drop their nap, and it changes, and that's okay. And so I've had to learn that I'm not planning 6 months, a year in advance and how my days look. I'm just week in advance, maybe a month in advance if I'm really lucky, and letting myself be fluid and giving myself a bit of grace in all of that.
I love it. Adaptable. All right. So, Jackie, where can people stay connected with you and find you online?
I love hanging out on Instagram. My handle is White Deer GD, so the color white, the animal deer, and the letters GD. And then if you want to see all of my content, I've got a wonderful YouTube channel, and you can just search Jackie Naunton for that, or Canva. If you search Canva and something, usually I'll be one of the first things that pop up for you. And I would love to have you on over there. And if you're looking for some more learning and some really seeing that hierarchy principle at play, or some more of my Canva shortcuts to help working Canva quicker, I have a free masterclass called Design Tools to Get to 100K Online. And I would love to have you in that. You can just head to whitedeer.com.au/free masterclass, and you can sign up for free there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Definitely going to have to check out the YouTube, and we'll talk to you soon. And for anybody listening, the free gift of the day is the free 4 Steps to Client Attraction class and cheat sheet. It takes you through how do you turn strangers into clients without being pitchy or weird, but how do you also do it in a way where you can apply it to any platform. So it's at haleyrowe.com/client-attraction. And thanks so much for being here. We'll talk to you soon.